problem with something that is ending is often that you only see what you're losing while not being able to see what you will gain when losing introduces the other side, metamorphosis, right? So my friend, welcome back to a new video today. I want to give you a quick message to remind you as we're going through the process of metamorphosis. You've heard about the G5 solar storm that's happening right now. A very strong solar flares are disturbing the electromagnetic field of the planet Earth, and it's causing a huge disturbance. So a G5 solar storm, also known as a severe geomagnetic storm, happens when the sun releases a massive burst of energy and particles into space. When these particles hit the Earth's magnetic field, they can cause disruption to technology like satellites, power grids, and communication systems. It's like a big space weather event that can affect things here on Earth. And you know, all ancient civilizations knew that planets in our solar system are, rather than just, physical objects, they're transmitters of energy. They perceive this life as there is a source of energy, a source of all this great cosmos that is sending out energy, and all planets are just transmitters of this energy. So, for example, in ancient alchemy, they understood that the sun is the purest body in the solar system, and it's composed of 93% of hydrogen atoms, which is the simplest form of matter known. And it is also in a process of constant purification in which cooler and darker masses, known as sunspots, rise to the surface. It's causing the solar flares. The formation of sunspots is on a remarkably regular 11th year cycle during which the intensity and number of spots steadily increases. In the period between the purging cycles, the sun is completely free of sunspots for many months at a time, which explains that the sun is constantly going through the cycles of purification, and it's moving somehow like in upward spiral of purification. It has more intense times and it has less intense times. And as science is noticing, the whole galaxy is moving in cycles. Everything in nature is moving in cycles. We have seasons, we have ages, we have civilizations. Everything is moving in cycles, as same as we are moving in cycles. So what we're seeing right now with all these solar flares and all these changes on the world, it's just a manifestation of an ending of one cycle and beginning of another. That's why I've begun this video as a metamorphosis. There's many prophecies about this event, right? The split, the beginning of a new earth, the birth of a new earth. But the problem often is when we have no knowledge about what's truly happening, we may think like there's just an end of the world, like the end times, right? The prophecies from the Bible and ancient texts. It's not really the end of life or whatever. It's just the phase of transition, right? So it's similar like when a mother is giving a birth to a child. If you would not know what's happening when all the liquids and everything is, pouring out, you would say, oh, that poor person is dying. What's wrong? What's happening? But to someone who has some knowledge about the birth and so on would say, oh, a new life is beginning. And that's what's happening right now. Like, something new is happening. But firstly, something old has to end, right? In Romans 12:2, there's a beautiful saying that says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which says expand your knowledge so you can understand what you're being afraid of. So then you can shift your patterns from the survival mechanisms into creative behaviors of someone who's thriving. Which means that at this unique time, you find reasons to thrive. I know for many of you it may be hard because you're looking what's happening around you, what's happening in the Middle East, or what's happening in the chaos of collective society, or what's happening with financial systems, and so many people that are struggling because of all of that. I know it's very hard to stay focused on the reasons to thrive, but that's what will make a change. Firstly, you really can't help much if you feel bad about everything that's happening. But you could use everything as a fuel to change your life, so then you can become a change and provide something that can happen through you. You know that. And many of us have found a fuel in everything that's happening. We've noticed, oh, this life is not sustainable. Some of us are maybe studying the past. Some of us are maybe studying ourselves. Some of us are studying a human potential. So then we can, master these different studies and become examples of all of that works, that's sustainable. And it's a process of trials and errors, right? And listening your intuition, because that's your realest guide, right? It's your realest guide. So during these very intense times and this rare event that's happening right now, it's only a beginning. There will be more and more intense events. So there is a potential disruption in our technology systems. Maybe your phone will just stop working at some point, right? Maybe the internet will just cut out. Maybe electricity will cut out. You never know, but it's good if you are prepared for that. It's good if you understand that the life is actually happening in front of the screen, not inside the screen, right? Many people are addicted to phones and technology and all of that, not really noticing that the life is really happening behind of that screen. It's you and everything that's happening around you. So focus on that more often. It's very, very rare these times to find people who know how to live their lives, who find people who know how to take care of their minds, how to allow their emotional systems to be fluid so they can be connected and they can be, relaxed and spontaneous. And it's very rare to find very happy and blissful people. But somehow, some way, when you become an example of that, you start attracting this kind of people into your life. So that's why we're seeing a rise of communities. People are coming together. Like, we are receiving feedback from people of all kinds of different backgrounds, resonating with this kind of information, because people are waking up to a degree that it's not about belief systems. It's not about a religion structure or religious structure. It's not about spirituality or any of that. It's about finding what works for you and then connecting with others that found out what works for them, and then just, feeding each other up with energy, with inspiration, with enthusiasm, with connection, and then provide to others all this good energy and help and anything that just feels to you natural. Like, at some point you discover, oh, you've come here to do this, right? You've come here to serve in this form, in this way, in this, manners or whatever. And you just want to do more of that. So you will find there's many ancient prophecies coming out talking about all these things, because we are truly living in biblical times. Like, if you study maybe the Bible or any other ancient philosophies, like Mayans philosophies, Mayans time calendar, you will see we are in a great shift. shifting into a new world. If you will study Native American prophecies, you will notice that when the earth will start shaking and weather will start changing and people will start dying and trees will be cut and animals will be dying and so on, there will be a rise of new people that will come back and heal the world. So any philosophy that we study, it never talks just about an end of something. It always brings a hope for something new, and it's just how it is. Like anything that ends, you may lose a job, you may lose a business, you may lose money. It's not an end of your world, but it is an end of a chapter. And then somehow, some way, it introduces you to the other side of that loss, which is a new gain, sometimes much greater than the previous, than what you've lost. But it only becomes visible once you fully accept what happened, right? So acceptance of losing something is a great power during this time. Acceptance of losing, allowing yourself to really accept what you've lost, so you can deal with certain type of a grief much easily. We've been through through really intense times, like all the COVID and all the nonsense that happened through this, like a glitch in the matrix and everything that happened during this time. We all have lost something. Some lost their loved ones, some have lost their jobs, some have lost huge amounts of money or anything that was there to them, and we've all lost something. And we all may feel a certain sense of grief, like we are losing the old world, we are losing what was familiar to us. So it's completely okay if you're feeling a bit, confused right now. But acceptance of losing, acceptance of loss is a great power, because it introduces you to this deeper knowing. This is very mystical, that says you have truly not lost, you didn't lost anything. You're just experiencing different sensations in life. Like mind can easily get attached to what's familiar because you're so afraid of facing with the unknown. But more we are evolving and more we are researching ourselves, more we are becoming familiar with the idea that in the unknown, there's the most positive surprises. When we face with the unknown with excitement and happiness and curiosity, we recognize there's many miracles that are born out of the unknown. Like, actually, if we reflect the past, we may notice, well, the greatest things in our lives happened when we had no idea what will come out of what we've started. It happened for me, like this YouTube channel and this art career. I'm an artist. Many of you have seen my art. It's on AttractPassion.com. I had no idea I will be doing that. Like, my dream was always to be a professional athlete, and that's what I was following, until at some point a new path started calling me out of nowhere. And curiosity was then the main, I would say, drive for that. Curiosity and learning and studying new knowledge. Like I said before, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Knowledge is power, my friend. Keep studying what calls you. Especially during these times, as this is just a beginning. Everything that's happening will intensify until everything will change. When financial systems will change, when healthcare systems will change, when educational systems will change, when all these global systems will change, we'll experience a new world. But it's happening through us. It's happening internally as much as it's happening externally. That's why some people are building something and you're building something else, and one day we'll come together and recognize, oh, look what we've created, right? It's a very beautiful thing that's happening right now, but at the same time we have to be prepared for what's happening. Like many potential outbursts and like shutdowns, like shut off of electricity or internet, or maybe technology may break down, you never know. So you need to recognize what is your source of connection. Is it a phone and internet, or is it actually talking with someone that means something to you? Is it, being overwhelmed by information, or is it sitting in meditation and learning to quiet down your mind? Is it finding entertainment on internet or on TV or wherever, or actually doing something creative where you're actually exploring your gifts and talents? It is a self-exploration that tells us what truly matters. And when we recognize what truly matters, then it shows us a way into which direction we could go. So once we see a way, we see a future. And once we see a future, we feel trust. And when we feel trust, fear loses its grip. And when fear loses its grip, you become powerful, right? So the biggest difference between the new world and the old world is that in the old world, people felt powerless because fear was their main drive in life. So they were doing everything out of fear. And when we are afraid, we are the most accessible and the most vulnerable for control. So we'll do whatever somebody says to us, right? Well, in the new world, we find the internal drive. We see a vision. We hear a voice. We know the truth. We feel intuition. We know what's right. We know what's our direction. And because we feel it and we see the vision for where we belong, what we truly can create, we gain trust for it. So trust becomes our force that guides us, right? It doesn't mean you don't feel fear for exposing yourself or doing something new. You feel it. But it's a voice of nature that says, this is unknown pattern, but you're training yourself right now. That's what fear says. In old world, you've been hypnotized to believe that fear is bad and you shouldn't be afraid of, but at the same time, they are pumping it into your mind so you can't lose it. And therefore, because you're constantly being afraid of, you're constantly in this fight or flight state where your thinking brain is overactive while all the other parts of your brain are not active enough. So the brain is not balanced, and therefore your heart is not balanced, and you feel under a sense of stress, and therefore when somebody says something to you, you just do it without even thinking about it. If you do it for a long time, it becomes a habit. If you do it for a longer time, it becomes your nature without even knowing why you're doing it, and suddenly your nature becomes something that's completely unnatural, completely destructive. And then rather than offering solution to you, let's offer you more sources of pleasure. That's the old world, like sugar and all kinds of, destructive things you can find on the internet and so on. While on the new world, you really think deeply about who you came here to be, and you explore that, and you slowly start feeling that something is awakening within you. Like you want to explore this talent of yours, you want to explore these skills of yours, you want to evolve, and suddenly you start to feel a way, you start to feel a sense of inspiration. You move into a certain direction, and suddenly you start to see more clearly where you're going. You start to envisioning what you can create. You start to awakening to the understanding that actually your mind creates things. Because thoughts are things, right? Thoughts are things. They create chemistry in your brain. Actually, neurons in the brain are like tiny antennas. As soon as you think a thought, it produces a chemistry that's called emotion, and suddenly you feel energy in motion moving through your body, and suddenly your body becomes an instrument of thinking. And when you understand that, you start to think as the future version of yourself in this present moment, and that's how you manifest it. That's the attitude of a new you in a new world, already existing right at this time, simultaneously with everything that's happening in the present moment. So don't be confused by the chaos. See the order of your future self that has manifested it into existence. You are creating it right now, my friend. You are creating it. Find your way, set your mind right, and check your heart so you can feel what already exists as a potential right at this moment. My friends, this is it for today. I hope you found great value in today's message. Thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community, where you can get access to exclusive content. You're very welcome there. And thanks to everyone for supporting my art in our store at AttractPassion.com and our Etsy store, I Draw My Passion. Thank you so much. Until next time, one love.